Okay, before we begin, clear some things so that I can sit in peace, insyaAllah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum everyone, and welcome to another vlog. Inshallah, today we are looking at some of the reads that I managed to cover in the month of January. I hope that this little sharing will be an inspiration for you to pick up a book, or if you are looking for a new book to read, then at least these are some of my recommendations. You can consider the next book that you want to land yourself on, inshallah. The very first book, I don't have its physical copy with me right now, a book that I read online. It is called Draw Your Day. So this is actually a book written by Samantha Dion Baker, and it's actually an inspiring guide for people to just look through the process of journaling, and more specifically sketching in your journals. Most of the things which are mentioned in the book is more towards those who might want to pick up sketch journaling. Samantha would share the kind of colors that she would use, the kind of brushes that she liked, what kind of brands that suits her sketches, and I really feel that that is extremely helpful, because sometimes when you want to start on a new hobby or a new activity, you have no idea with regards to the materials, whether it works for you or it does not. What I really love about the book is that it is a very light read. It is not stressful at all. I was just browsing through the pages as I go along, and it is really therapeutic, I guess, to see some of her drawings, some of her sketches inside the book as well, and the colors that she used, and how pretty yet colorful yet minimal that particular book is. One thing that she mentioned in her book that I really liked was that she urges for people who call themselves creatives, for people who maybe they do a certain project, or they write a certain thing, or they paint. She mentions that there are days where you are proud of your work, and there are days where you are not proud of your work at all, but you still have to do it. You still have to put in the work, and that is just part of the whole process, part of the whole creative process. And without having to go through those episodes that you're not happy or you're not fulfilled with your end product, you are not able to land yourself on producing something that is worthwhile, something that is meaningful for you. So it's interesting how she emphasizes on acknowledging mistakes, appreciating the hard work that we have placed into a certain thing that we do, and I really feel that that is very assuring. And I hope that that portion of the read will assure you as well. Okay. So the next book I have is The Bright Hour. It's actually a memoir of living and dying by Nina Ricks. It's interesting how I started off the very first read of the year with a memoir. In this particular story, Nina Ricks actually shares her experience relapsing with cancer. As much as she is going through cancer and she is trying to battle to live, she has a mother who was going through cancer as well, and her mother was at her final stages of life. It's interesting how she's battling with living, but also at the same time she's trying to battle with grief. This particular cancer thing is something that connects her with her mother. This book really teaches us about how we are able to detach ourselves from the outcome. Sometimes we are hopeful on certain things, but at the end of the day, the outcomes are the things which we are not capable of controlling. And if I could just share one of my favorite pages here, it says, sometimes the most important thing is knowing when to quit. Sometimes being heroic is knowing when to say enough is enough. They don't ask her to come back next year. Maybe they know she won't be here anymore. If memoirs interests you, if trying to live with life and death at the same time concurrently is something that is intriguing for you, then you might want to pick up this book, inshallah. Next read that I have on my list is also another memoir. It is called The Best You Could Do by Thi Bui, and this is actually an illustrated memoir, and I really feel that illustrations help, because this is actually a memoir of Thi Bui whereby she was trying to find a way to bridge the gap between her relationship with her parents, because at the end of the day she still struggles to understand them. So that is where she would trace back the life experiences of her parents, and from there she is able to understand why her parents are the way that they are today, and how she is able to learn better so that she can become a better parent to her child. This book talks about the Vietnam War and how, you know, people who live in the war, people who were born in the war, people who are affected by the war, not only that they are affected at that point in time, but they are also affected throughout their entire lives. And part of it is that they would go through, you know, different periods of time where they had to be refugees, find another place called home, and it really is not easy, especially when you need to settle down in an environment that you know nothing about. If I could just share, when I got this book, I forgot to see that it is actually an illustrated memoir. So I literally spent a day on bed just flipping through the pages, like reading some form of comic, but it actually helps us to understand about the Vietnamese War better and whatever that, you know, they are going through at that point in time. And it also brings me to a point of reflection and appreciation for my parents, for the place that I grew up in, for the upbringing that I received. And you know, at the end of the day, sometimes we can only see whatever that they provide for us, but we will never taste the magnitude of the struggles and sacrifices that they have made to bring us up. If you want to read a memoir but you're not much into long-winded words, you are into a little bit of illustrations, then you might want to pick this book up, although it looks thick, but I promise you it's a very adventurous read. The next read on my list is The Archer by Paulo Coelho. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but this is a very interesting book. Actually, this author was the author of The Alchemist, and it is one of the reads that was recommended by my roommate back in university. So when I followed the account of this author and I saw that he was actually getting somebody to translate his, you know, writings to English, especially for this book, then I told myself, you know, I had to get it. I had to get for my roommate who was really into this author as well. This book talks about the archer itself, the person, and also the function of the arrow as well as the bow, and how at the end of the day, although the arrow is important so that it is able to reach whichever destination or whichever point that we want to, you know, shoot the arrow, but the bow is far more important than the arrow itself. One of the things that was highlighted in this book was that if we are not brave enough, if we don't push ourselves to take risks, then we will never know what we are capable of. If I could share with you one of my favorite pages, this one: join with those who are open and not afraid to be vulnerable. They understand that people can improve only once they start looking at what their fellows are doing, not in order to judge them, but to admire them for their dedication and courage. It comes with beautiful illustrations as well with regards to the chapters and the topics on the archer, and you know, you can really finish this in one setting. It's full of grace, wisdom, and generosity, and I foresee myself to go back to this book again and again. And additionally, if I could also share, I thought that the book was just of this, you know, paper cover, but the other day I kind of flipped it through and the cover is actually like this. How beautiful is it, guys? If you are into Paulo Coelho's writings, or if you might want to explore a read of this genre, then you might want to consider to pick this up. Or the other book called The Alchemist, I would highly recommend that as well. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the read as much as I do, inshallah.